Welcome to the Brad and Taylor Show. Today we have Kim Laforet and Kelly Lebel.
You're listening to the Brad and Taylor Show, a podcast that inspires entrepreneurs to pursue their passions. We're sitting down with some of the best to learn how they got started and some lessons they learned along the way.
Hey ladies, how are you?
Doing great. Thank you.
Doing good. Oh yeah. Well, let's get this started. Tell us a little bit about you guys. What do you guys do? Who wants to go first?
Well, I'll go first. This is Kim. We have been in the business of helping people achieve the American dream through their home ownership I've been selling real estate since 1976, so 45 years now, and started a team back in the 1990s, and Kelly's been with the team as our administrative assistant, licensed admin, since 1997.
Nice. That's a pretty good amount of time.
Yeah.
Good for you guys. That's awesome. So you do the admin stuff, Kelly. That's awesome. How do you like that? I'm sure you like it because you've been doing it for a while.
Yeah.
I am let me back up. I started off in sales early on in 97 and quickly discovered that I am not a salesperson. I am very good at being behind the scenes and taking care of details. So Kim and I eventually found a role for me to hunker down into the assistant, helping her run the office type role. And from there, we started to form a team with other agents coming on with us.
I mean, that's awesome because, pretty much you run the show. We know how it goes around there.
Yeah.
We know who knows all the answers.
Yep.
It's all in check.
That's awesome. So when you guys were, or Kim, when you were younger, so what you had planned for your future? Like, what did you do when you were younger?
What did I do? I watched a lot of Tiger baseball games, rode my bike. I sold greeting cards door to door to earn money to be able to earn my first bike and fun things like that. Sold Girl Scout cookies, all that kind of stuff. But when I was a kid, I wanted to be the first woman newscaster alongside Walter Cronkite on the nightly news. Now, most of you probably have no idea who Walter Cronkite was, but he was the infamous newscaster on the nightly news that everybody in America watched. And I wanted to be alongside him as a journalist.
That's awesome.
So I had no idea to get into. I didn't even know what real estate was, to be honest with you, because we'd never moved.
So how did you get into real estate? How did that happen?
I answered an ad to become a secretary in a real estate office. And by the time that I left there, I couldn't figure out why they didn't want me to take a typing test, but I had to take a state test. And the gentleman said at the time, "Oh no, honey," this is back in the day when you could use those verbs sayings and not get in trouble. He said, "You're going to sell homes." And I said, "Oh, okay." So I just totally stepped out of my comfort zone. They asked if I had any questions, and I said, "Yeah, what's a listing?" Because I had no clue of anything in real estate.
Yeah.
But by the third month, I was their top salesperson. So It was certainly a providential path, I think, that I was led upon.
Yeah, and from your background too, it sounds like you grew up kind of having a little bit of sales experience, selling those greeting cards and Girl Scout cookies. So you kind of had the ropes down a little bit,
dogs,
maybe.
Yeah, hot dogs at Tiger Stadium too. That was a fun job.
That's awesome, Kelly. So when you, what did you do before you got into join the team?
It was really my first career other than, some odd jobs, waitressing or working at a coffee place, back in high school. I always thought that, I don't know why I thought this, but I always thought I wanted to be a telephone operator. You push 0 and you get the telephone operator. I thought that was so cool. What do they do? What's it like? Anyways, graduated high school and went to college for about a year or so and dabbled in some different courses, but just didn't find a passion for what I wanted to do. I thought maybe teaching. I didn't really like the teaching courses. I thought, okay, well, English, maybe I'll do something with an English major. And while I liked it, I'm like, nah, I don't really have direction for that. So in the meantime, Kim had said, why don't you come in the office and help me part-time, help my assistant too, just working on this and that she's really busy and we can pick up some slack. And from there, I just decided to get licensed and thought, yeah, I'm going to be a salesperson. And then it morphed into where I am today.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that is awesome. For you guys both, when you kind of started in the business, is there any advice that both of you had gotten that just stuck with you right off the bat?
Kim, you want to go first?
I remember a piece of advice that I got when we got married, and it applies to all aspects of my life, and it's never go to bed angry. And so I've morphed that over into real estate as well, and it's settled disputes quickly, whether it be with coworkers, other agents, with clients, or whatever. Get to the bottom of the issue and settle it before the end of the day, because to let it linger on only allows it to fester.
Yeah.
Yep.
What about you, Kelly, with that one?
You know, I still am shy, you know, a bit of an introvert. So I remember Kim just telling me, just try each day, just try. And remember, if you don't ask, you won't get. So early on, I would just try to push myself out there and ask and see if I got. And many times it worked.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hey, I know, because you always ask us stuff.
See?
It works.
It works.
Thanks for playing along.
Yeah. We're just trying to help.
Kim, over the years, what is the worst property you've been to? What one sticks out to you the most?
Oh, yeah. Let's see. What do we got?
Ugh.
Or showing.
This is probably one of them that I went to. It was a guy who liked to buy fixer-uppers.
Mm-hmm.
And so we went to this house, and I walked in the front door, and my foot fell through the floor and I almost fell down into the basement. The floor gave way.
Wow.
I walked out and told him he's great to be able to show it on or look at it on his own if he wanted to, as a vacant home. And when he came out, I said, so do you want it? And he goes, I love it. I'll take it.
Okay. Well, okay then.
That's awesome. It's funny because you just talked about like falling through the floor. I went and looked at one. It was like 2 weeks ago, and that was literally it. The homeowner actually had to show up to the showing because they're like, you have to stand here, and you also have to stand over here. That was your way to walk through it.
Go in the middle.
So that reminded me of that one. So that's so funny.
Did they have little red X's on the floor? So
they should have.
Show the property, we wouldn't fall through.
They should have. That would have been perfect. Yeah. So you ended up getting it, right?
Yeah.
That's
that
awesome.
one and also another one where back in the day, you used to have city inspectors come out and do their inspections. And we went into this vacant home that I had listed, and we all came out and jumping around in the street because we were covered in fleas. So we were taking off every piece of clothing we could and still be legal in the middle of the street, right, shaking out the fleas. Yeah, so we've had some real fun experiences.
What about you, Kelly? Have you been to a home that maybe you would deem the worst one that you've been to?
No, I wouldn't deem the worst home. You know, I showed a home one time, and when they opened the door, the whole family was there, and they were all sick with the flu. But said, come on in. And I, just politely declined and said, no, that's okay. We'll come back another time. When you're
yeah. Imagine that
I did
now.
show a home.
Right? Imagine that. Yeah.
I did show a home one time, and it was vacant, and I went to the corner of the room. I thought it was just some trash or some bark in the corner, and I went to go pick it up, and as soon as I went to pick it up, it moved, and it was a bat. So I quickly just called the listing agent and said, "Oh, you've got something over here. You need to come get out."
It's not a piece of bark.
You
Don't touch it.
No, so I'm very hesitant to go touch anything or pick anything up that I might see in a house.
Right.
You never know what it's going to be.
Bump it with your foot maybe, or with a stick first.
Oh, wow.
Over the years in your guys' business, what has changed the most, do you think, in the marketing aspect or just in your plans in general? What has changed the most for you guys over the years? Because I'm sure there has been changes.
Yes, technology, 1000%. I mean, even just when I started, it was still faxing one page by one page until the signal would go through, printing out photos at Meyer, like physical photos, and gluing them onto flyers. And now we're just email is everything, cloud devices, and it has streamlined everything to be so much more, I guess, efficient
Mm-hmm.
and a little bit easier. And then in turn, we also can work a little bit smarter, as Kim says, not harder,
Yes.
and also get things to go through faster because it's just an instant transaction.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
One of the things that I've noticed is the difference in the generations of buyers.
Mm-hmm.
When I first got into real estate, it was back in the 1970s, and people were looking to buy a starter home, get established there for a few years, sell that, and use the equity to buy the next home. And then I noticed a trend starting in the 90s where people wanted to buy a home that they could move into and live in there for a much longer period of time. In other words, it would have been the second home that the starter home generation would have bought, but
Okay.
they wanted to get into it right away. And now I'm finding that even more so with the newer generations, the millennials and everything, is they have no desire to get into a starter home. What they want to do is they want to get into their Taj Mahal. What they want is their end all be all home.
Yeah.
And that just tells us a little bit about our society and our generations and how things have changed a little bit. I'm not going to say whether that's good or bad because there's good and bad points about both of it, but it's something that's certainly a lot different than what it used to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you find now that people who are maybe looking for their forever home as their starter home are having a lot harder time finding that because it's so specific rather than just that starter home and growing as the years go on?
Definitely.
Yeah.
And the features that they're looking for in homes, many times they don't, the features that they say that they need really aren't needs, they're wants.
Yes.
And so it's to try to get them in alignment with what their pocketbook says they can do
Right.
is something that is a little bit more challenging too. So you have to have these, come to Jesus meetings with them occasionally and just say, okay, is this really a need or is this a want? And
Yeah.
is this something that you can, hold off on for a little bit, or maybe buy a house where you can add that swimming pool in the future or whatever the case might be.
Yeah. It's almost like a reality check is needed sometimes, but I have a feeling it's a lot to do with HGTV.
I agree with that. Looking at 3 homes and saying, okay, I'll take that one.
Right. Yeah. And then not realizing the price point. This is going to cost you a little extra than
Yes.
a typical starter home would. So,
Right. I always
Yeah.
Big
chuckled on those
differences.
shows where they take them through the home and then tell them the price afterwards. Like, that's not how this works.
right. I know. Yeah. I mean, maybe reality check, maybe in some cases that would bring them down back to earth. But
Oh, let's change our budget a couple 100,000
Right.
more.
you want,
Right.
you need this. Well, this is the price. There you go.
Yeah, that's crazy. So tell us a little bit about your team, Kim. So I know you guys are a lot more very team oriented. Because I mean, we worked with you for a long time and can definitely tell how you guys work. And we interviewed Aaron the other day. So
Yep.
tell us more about your team, because you do it a lot different than everywhere else.
Sure. Well, I started back in the 1990s. I was noticing a lot of the longtime, really superstars in the industry were beginning to retire. And when they were retiring, they were basically orphaning their clients. And they would say, okay, well, so and so is going to take over, my business and so on. And that would work for a few transactions, but that would dwindle off after a while because that client didn't have any relationship
Yes.
with that new agent. And so I thought there's got to be a better way of doing this. And I loved how real estate gave me, as a working mother, the ability to be a room mother, be a Girl Scout leader, go to all the kids' events that I wanted to, do what I wanted to do personally, as well as what I wanted to do business-wise. But I did find that by doing all of that stuff and still working the level that I wanted to work at, I was burning myself out. I thought there's got to be a better way to do this. And I thought if I brought other people on and trained them, then I could create a generational business and I could create a lifestyle that could be passed on to generations. And so my first focus was to hire an administrative assistant, and it wasn't Kelly. This was back in the early 90s. And I had Carrie with me for, I don't know, 5 or 6 years, I guess, until she decided to get married and start having a family of her own and be a stay-at-home mom. That's when we brought Kelly in. But I wanted to be able to show that a working woman could still have balance in her life and not be overwhelmed by work and not feel like she had one foot in and one foot out of being a mother as well and a wife. So I developed a team not to make more business, not to create more business, but to create a lifestyle that
Yes.
other women could emulate and could pass down through the generations. And so from that admin assistant that we first hired, then came from there. First was a buyer's agent. And then I brought on that buyer's agent as a full partner, and then brought on another buyer's agent and eventually brought them on. Right now, our team consists of myself, who I'm the team lead, I guess, but I'm more of a mentor and a coach at this point in time. Kelly is the admin assistant. And again, everyone on our team is licensed. So if a client calls, anybody can answer the question for them.
Yeah.
From that, we have Erin, who is one of my daughters also, as is Kelly. And Erin is in sales as a full partner. Lee Henrys is in sales as a full partner. And we just hired Christy Price as a full partner in sales. So we've got the team that is, well-rounded, so that like Lee's on vacation right now. And I know that Erin and Christy can cover for her while she's gone. So it works as a nice balance. So nobody ever feels like they can't go anywhere, or you hear about agents going on vacation and having to take all this work with them. We don't have to do that.
Yep. That's awesome. Making it into an actual a life too.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's awesome. Good for you
well,
guys.
we can be the best that we can be when we have a balance in our life.
Yep.
And every year we have a planning session. We've got ours coming up at the end of October as to setting out our goals, our budget, our market plan, all that stuff for the following year. And in those goals, I always ask the women to not only put down what your business goals are, but also your personal goals and your family goals, because I want it to be well-rounded. I don't want it just to be business.
Yeah.
And so that way we can look at it and we can hold each other accountable. Hey, Lee, you are going to go to Italy. Are you still planning on doing that? So on and so forth. We can hold each other accountable. And I think it makes for a fun synergy within the team too.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that you guys do that too, because it, like you mentioned, it just balances your life. So you're not burnt out. You can still enjoy your family time. You can still enjoy your personal time and still work.
Right.
And we've all gotten to be close friends because of it. I look at all the girls as almost like more daughters that I'm bringing in.
I hope.
Well, definitely you and Erin, but
They're like, oh man, I'm just kidding.
Are you guys planning on growing your team at all anymore? Or do you guys want to keep it kind of how it is for now? What's your goals with that?
I think we're just, we needed one more salesperson on the team. And that's why we brought Christy on recently.
Okay.
Because we need this three-legged stool. It's going to balance that way. And I'm comfortable with just having the 5 of us on the team. But if there becomes a point in time where we feel like we need more, I don't want to grow for the sake of growing. We all make a very comfortable income. We're happy with where we're at, and but enough so that we're continually striving to, push ourselves just a little bit by upping our goals every year, business goals and so on. So I think if we'll just take it day by day, and if we feel the need that we have to bring in somebody else, there's going to be a need for it. We're not going to look for somebody and then try to create a position.
Right. And now for both of you, if you guys could both start over, Kim, maybe you go first on this one, since just because you've been in the business a little longer. But if you could start over, what's one thing that you would do differently?
I think I would spend more time and energy developing a deeper relationship with the clients that we have, instead of trying to spread out and constantly getting new business, because I do know that, and I think we do a pretty good job of keeping in touch with our past clients and so forth. And many of them have become close and longtime friends. But instead of, you go to the seminars and stuff and they say, oh, buy this swag and give this away and host this big party and extravagant things and everything. You don't really have to do that. It can be something as simple as making sure that you're contacting your folks. So I like to ask the girls to contact at least one past client a day, just to say hi, see how you're doing, maybe say, hey, let's meet for coffee next week. And so, that just keeping in touch with them and offering them things of value. Like when we learn about new legislation that might affect their home value or whatever, making sure that they have that information, telling them about any new listings that happen to come up in their neighborhood. Should they want to maybe have one of their friends move into their neighborhood, something like that. So anything of value that we're constantly on the lookout with all different sources to see what might be out there that we could pass on to our clients as something of value to them.
Yeah, and that kind of leads me into the next question for you, Kelly. How do you guys keep track of all of that?
It's a lot to keep track
I
of.
bet,
but
yeah.
over the years, we've created systems,
Okay.
procedures to be able to help us follow through, a database manager, and then things that just work for us that aren't necessarily big technology platforms, but just a running checklist for anything that we might need to do, and calendars to remind us, and holding each other accountable, especially the business goals when we go over those each year and really look at what we did the year previously. Did we accomplish that? If not, how can we accomplish it this year? What will we do differently? And that's part of what we do when we write out our goals, is not just, okay, we want to sell homes to more clients this year. Well, how are you going to do that? Well, the best way to do that is maybe creating more relationships with our past clients, following up with them more, or putting yourself out there in other areas, networking, or joining some more groups within the community, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I love that you guys are taking it from all aspects and just kind of combining it and making it the whole way around.
Well, what's really cool too is everybody, before I bring anybody on the team, I have them do a disc profile to show what their dominant traits are like and their personality traits. And I know what it takes to be a good salesperson or to be a good admin person. And so when we see those traits, and then we know how to communicate to be able to help that person achieve the most that they can achieve through their, personality type.
Yeah.
It's just fun trying to put all that stuff together. I love the idea of psychology and the psychology of sales and so on. And so to be able to take that and then teach the team members, okay, if you're meeting with a client and the client is sitting back, folding their arms, what does that tell you? And how should you alter your style of speaking to them or communicating at that point in time? If they're leaning in, they want to hear more. What else are you how can you engage them more in the conversation by maybe asking questions and so on?
Is there a business book that you guys would recommend to anybody maybe starting out?
A couple of years ago, for our annual team meeting, Kim had us all read this book called Strength Finders 2.0.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not the type of person that really likes to read that kind of stuff, but I was fascinated with this book, and not just talking about your strengths and weaknesses, but hey, here's my weaknesses, but they're not really a weakness. Look at what you can do with this. So that book to me was really, really a good read.
What was that one called again?
Strength Finders 2.0.
Perfect. I haven't heard of that one. I'll have to look it up and check it out.
Excellent book. One of my favorites all time, a long time ago, is Raving Fans. It's how can you create raving fans? What things are necessary in order to not just get suggested by somebody that, oh, you need to call the Laforet team, but you have to call the Laforet team. This is somebody that, I mean, Erin just went on an appointment this week where her client said, you have got to call this team and have them come out and talk to you. And so she went out and did her presentation. And so, you know, that's what we want to create as raving fans, so that somebody is passionate about telling people that they care about what their experience was like with the Laforet team. So raving fans is probably one of my top ones. And then the next one that I could think of was The Purpose Driven Life by Rick Warren. That just sort of sums it all up. And how do you, you know, what's it all about? I mean, why are you doing what you do? And you've got to have a purpose to it. If you don't have a purpose to it, it's just a job. And this is not just a job for any of us. This is our passion. This is, you know, we realize that this is the largest single purchase that most people will ever make in their lifetime in most cases. And how can we make this easier for them? You know, the best situation for them, how we can maybe advise them as to how they can do this the best way so that the result turns out in the best possible scenario for them. So it's more of a passionate kind of thing, I believe.
Yeah, and before we go today, how can people get a hold of your team?
Kel?
We have a website, laforetteam.com. LAFORET team.com.
Awesome. I like it. That's awesome. Hey, thanks for coming on and sharing your story with us today, guys.
Well,
Thank
thanks for
you.
having us.
Are these working? Here we go.
Oh, there we go. I think they're working. Should we tell them?
Mine keeps falling. It doesn't like my voice.
What do we got to tell them?
Subscribe.
Subscribe. What do we got to point at? Hey, I think there's a subscription button. Like
It might be there.
might be right there too,
Somewhere.
somewhere.
Find it. It's red.
Yeah, and it's
Red.
blue. It's green. I don't really know.
It's a color.
This mic isn't even attached. Did you plug these in? Well, I guess.
I wonder if they can hear us.
Yeah. I wonder if they hear us. Well, we should probably tell them if they can hear us. We should probably tell them to also give us a 5-star review if they're listening on Apple. That'd be cool.
5
5-star
stars,
review.
guys.
Share it with everybody they can think of.
We won't take
But-
4 stars.
I mean, Taylor, I don't even think these are on. I mean,
No, I don't think this is working.
This is not working.